Alright guys, it's Jira Bro back with another video. Today what I'm going to do is I'm actually gonna show you how the migration from server to cloud actually works. As a prerequisite, what I actually did is I installed the Jira server on the local host. So this is like my own web server. It's not like actually on the internet. So the goal is to migrate this project to the project and the instance of Jira on the cloud. So what do you first do? So first of all, you just need to make sure that your Jira Cloud Migration Assistant is up to date. The question is where you can find it. So if you actually click on cog and go for the applications, so then you choose the manage apps, it should be under the user installed, and most probably it's gonna say that there is available update that you can install and it can use. The another thing is, if it for some reason is actually not located within your manage apps, you can actually find it within, if you go for all apps. And when you go for all apps, you can just actually sort it out and then you will find it. So the first step is actually updating your Jira Cloud Migration Assistant. Then where you actually need to do, so what I actually did here is I've used my my keyboard shortcut, and in here it says migrate to cloud, so I'm going to select that first. So first of all, what you need to do is to assess and prepare your users. So what I'm actually going to do is, first of all, you are about to be redirected to choose your destination. Okay. Alright, so this is actually where I am migrating from, and this is where I'm actually migrating to. So I'm migrating to here, and in the base URL, the server instance, to locate the base URL, you just go to System and General Configuration. So that is the first thing I need to do. So I need to go back to System, and this is the base URL. Alright, so we're gonna go and we're gonna choose the cloud site, and this is where I'm migrating from, and this is where I'm migrating to. Okay, so you can select and say allow Atlassian to access migrations data. Atlassian needs the permission to copy it from your server instance and transfer it to a linked cloud instance. Okay, so let us select this one. So now we can actually choose our destination, and now it says no results to show. The very first thing is to begin the assessing. The assessment actually may take some time. So usually for you it's gonna take much more time, and it's not only gonna it's gonna go through all of the emails, all of the email addresses that are actually unique. Maybe it's going to show some of the duplicate accounts that that actually will be there, and if are actually some of the duplicates in there, you need to make sure that you actually check those duplicates. Now, the problem with the Jira Cloud Migration Assistant, it doesn't really actually tell you which of those accounts are actually duplicate ones. So that could be annoying, because maybe if you're having like 300 users or 500 users or even more, to actually go through every single user to actually check if they're actually having a duplicate account. And that is one downside. So you can actually review here. So you can review all email domains. You can actually do for this as well. So that is the important thing, is that before you go through the migration, that you need to go with the assessments. Alright, now it says domains completed, no decision has been made. Okay, I can say like, yeah, this is going to be a trusted domain. Then I can migrate your users in advance, migrate users in the groups in advance, so they can start using cloud while you actually do this. So I'm going to say this is going to be named server to cloud. Choose the migration stage, so this is going to be production, and this is how to be selected. Now the recommended is to actually preserve the group membership, because users will remain members of their current groups, because you actually this saves you the manual work to add your users to their separate group after the migration. And even though the migration itself can be will be lasting for some time, it really depends on the size of your attachments, right? So if the size of your attachments is like 2 gigs or 3 gigs, 10 gigs, the bigger the attachments, the longer migration time will actually take. And of course, don't actually believe that the migration will actually always be successful. That is never the case, because there is always something that goes wrong, and you will actually need to go through all of those error checks. For example, the error checks that you actually might actually get on would be there is a difference between an error and there is a difference between warnings. Warnings could be, for example, for the cross-functional boards and filters that are being, migrated to the cloud. Now, the thing with this is that you might actually encounter a problem where some of the boards will not be migrated at all. So the downside from here is that you would actually need to create a board from the filter. Now, even, let's say, worst scenario is when there isn't even that filter existing within your cloud instance. The good thing is that you already have your filter set up on your board, and you can actually go ahead and look from that filter. You can create filter and then you just apply it to the board. It's not really that much, but yeah, I will also talk more about these problems. But mostly you want to preserve this. Now, what actually is going on is that there are these pre-migration checks. And if you go ahead to do the migration right away and you haven't updated your Cloud Migration Assistant, it's going to tell you that you need to really update this, because it's not going to continue unless you actually really do this. Now, for me, it says basically that everything is set because I'm using a test project, but for you it may show some different things. For example, There are no conflicting group names. This shouldn't be the problem because I believe that for every group you're using a different name. Because even though if you try to make the groups to have the same name, Atlassian wouldn't let you do it. Our users have valid email addresses. Yes, this might be where you can encounter with a problem where it says some of the users don't have like really the valid email address. The downside here is it doesn't really actually tell you which user this is. So that is something also to look on. The another thing is this thing that I want to show and to read this. It says every server instance is unique. So it might take longer based on your data complexity and dependencies. So you can also check the troubleshooting page. It's really useful. As you can see, it really says in here we couldn't check for users count limit. So these are the common problems in here that you can actually might encounter with. I can actually leave you this link in the description so you can actually read this and know what to expect when you're doing the migration. So when I review this migration here, it says, well, everything basically is actually in there. What I need to do, I just need to run this, and now what it's actually doing is basically moving the users from server to cloud. So that is one of the things that it's actually been doing. And now, as you can see, it says like migration is in progress. So it's doing its own thing to migrate here. So it really shouldn't take that long. So that shouldn't really be something. Yeah, so this is like to migration of the users, right? And you should really consider this. And it says even here, migration is complete. That is actually pretty good. Now what you need to do is you can create your migration. You connect to the cloud. You go server to cloud, let's say 1, choose a migration stage. This is going to be the site. Now what does it say in here? So you have two things. So the option to migrate all data at once in September 2024, this option wouldn't actually be there. So this is the recommendation, and this is what you actually need to choose for. So advanced row maps, I don't really have any advanced row maps. Projects that I want to select, so I want to select the Kanban. Now the interesting thing is that you can also include everything, all active issues, attachments, associated advanced row maps and configurations. Or if you want, you can actually choose your attachments only. So sometimes this is actually pretty handy because if you have a lot of attachments, it's actually a big number of attachments. It really depends on how many projects are you migrating. But speaking from the experience, when it comes to bigger attachments, it is recommended to first migrate your attachments only. So the positive side here is that it doesn't really take that much time to actually migrate the attachments only. So because it's only focused on the attachments, and the server itself, it's quite fast when it comes to uploading those attachments and then later migrating them to the cloud. So that is actually great, but in my case, I'm not gonna do it. So only cross boards, filters related to the selected projects. Yes, this is actually what you want. Now you have users and groups. So it says all the users and groups were in the Jira. No, I'm gonna say only users and groups related to the selected project. Now what you can actually do is include all users and groups assigned to required roles. Any user groups assigned to role required to select a project. This will preserve the connection between the user and group and the role. And also you want to preserve the group membership. That is another thing that you actually want to do. Now this is another step that you want to actually look into, because let's say you have some apps on your server that we're actually using. Some apps like, for example, either it is going to be EasyBI or Zephyr or something like that. Some of those apps that you actually want to migrate to the cloud, and you basically want to, well, use them on the cloud, and you want to use them on the cloud with a full potential. Of course, maybe there are going to be some functionalities that are going to be different, but this is actually pretty normal because cloud is a different environment than the server itself. So, most features will be there, but don't get surprised if some of the features are actually kind of different. So I'm gonna say I don't have any of the I'm gonna run pre-migration checks, and it says to me here that everything is in order. And of course, if something is actually wrong, if you get some of the errors in here, you will actually know what to do. And I'm going to say run. And now it's saying in which process actually this is. So we're waiting for the process to be finished, and once the process actually is finished, I can take a look and see if everything went all right, and if the mentioned project has actually been migrated to the cloud instance. But basically, that is everything that you actually have. Now, everything depends. Some are asking like, what is the average time of a migration to take? How long does it take for an average migration? Like I said, it really depends on the project's complexity, on the size of the attachments. So those are the factors that are actually being and that actually impact the whole let's say estimation of how long the migration can take. But sometimes migrations can be crazy, longer than 6 hours or something like that. So yeah, now it says go to cloud site. Alright, now if you can see right here, we have it, cloud Kanban migration. This is it. This is what we actually have. Now, so let's see here, cloud migration Kanban. So there's some stuff in here that you can actually see that are not being, let's say, migrated. So for example, in here, I really don't see the swim lane. So that would be one of the things that you actually need to set up. So then you go to configure the board and you actually look around and see what actually needs to be fixed. The very first thing that you actually want to look for is this filter query right here. If the filter query is actually in here, then it's okay. Then it's good. That is one thing. The another thing that you actually need to manually add as well are going to be your board administrators. So board administrators don't get migrated, so you need to keep that in mind, that board administrators, they need to be added as well. Filter details, issue ranking, fixed version. So this is the board subfilter. Interesting thing that you can actually change the board subfilter. Wow, okay, that must be a new feature. I wasn't really aware of this, to be quite honest. Now, the second important thing that you need to look for are the columns. In this specific case, I really didn't have to go through the columns and actually even manually add the columns or even create the Kanban backlog. So those are all of the things that you can actually might expect, because some of the columns get migrated, some of the columns don't get migrated. Even what I have encountered, where basically like sometimes it happens that maybe some of the statuses don't get migrated as well. So you actually need to look into that as well. So yeah, migrating whole boards and the whole project, yeah, it takes time, and that's why the migrations can be so long, especially if you have 10 projects or 15 projects that you need to look on. On the filters, on the board administrators, also the permissions, view and edit permissions, also to look on the swim lanes, and also to look for the quick filters as well, because sometimes what can actually happen is that you would need to create your quick filters from scratch and then apply them to the boards. This is the case that happens is if you don't have a specific board migrated to the cloud, and then you have to create a filter from scratch, then you also need to create quick filters as well. This also goes along for the card colors and card layouts. So that is something that you also need to replicate from your server. Now, when it comes to the workflows, most of those schemes are those things get migrated without a doubt. But something that you might actually encounter is about the difference within the screens, and maybe within the screens on your cloud, some of the fields actually might be missing. So you actually need to add those fields as well. Let me just see it in here. So for alright, so in here it went and added the Jira administrators and everything. Okay. So if I go back to my server, and if I go to project settings, and if I go to users, alright, so yeah, it actually did. For example, I haven't added myself as an admin, but you should always do that. You probably need, not probably, you definitely need to have people on your project so they can be migrated as well. So all of these things are possible to happen and might actually happen, because before Jira Cloud Migration Assistant didn't actually have this option for migrating the boards, and it was really painful after migration, because you had to create those boards all from scratch, and you actually basically needed to do everything. Imagine having now 20 projects where you need to create boards from scratch, and for that project to approximately have 5 boards per project. Oh man, that was a real headache. That was really something that you were asking, like, why the hell am I doing this? But, you don't really have to worry about that, because once you're actually done with migrations, you don't have to look back. And when you set everything on the cloud, you don't have to look back at all, at any time. So that is something that is really good. Okay, so I believe that you guys understood everything when it comes to migration. If yeah, the another thing that I want to mention is to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys in the next video.